Hello. We have a minion. We have a minion in the building, even if we don't quite have it in the room. Good Shabbos to folks at home. It is Shabbat Hagadol. It's actually my bar mitzvah Shabbos. Not that I have any recollection of that. Really don't. Can we bring levels just down a smidge? Oh, the microphones are great. There we go. Let's sing page 6, number 3. How good it is to be together. That's a little bit low. Let's get us up to. Hine ma tov u'manayim. Hine ma tov u'manayim. Shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim. Shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, hine ma tov. Yararai, yararararara. Hine ma tov, hine ma tov. Yararai, yararararara. As we move into our Shabbos, our Kabbalat Shabbat, receiving, welcoming in the Shabbat. Let's actually go back to page 2. Yedid Nefesh Av HaRachaman. I love this translation. Heart's delight, source of mercy, draw your servant into your arms. It's all that some of us had a little class on Kabbalah last Saturday. And we talked about the unifications of the aspects, the male and the female aspects of the divine and that are involved in the Kabbalistic perfection of the world. And that's why Kabbalat Shabbat was created by mystics, right? It's this Kabbalat Shabbat, when Shabbat comes in, is this, we call Shabbat Me'ein Olam Haba, a taste of, a shadow of the world to come, and the experience of Shabbat coming in. And this particular Shabbat, the Shabbat Gadol, is just rolling right into Pesach, right? It's the a little hint of increasing perfection, let's put it that way, and approaching redemption. Yedi Nefesh Av HaRachaman. So the second one on page 7. Yedi Nefesh Av HaRachaman Meshochav Decha Eretz Zonecha Meshochav Decha Eretz Zonecha. Do it again. Yedid Nefesh Av HaRachaman Yedid Nefesh Av HaRachaman Meshochav Decha Eretz Zonecha Meshochav Decha Eretz Zonecha Yarutz Avdecha Kemo Hayam Yishtachavel Mul Mul Adarecha ישתחווה מול אל מול עדריך. Back to the beginning. ידיד נפש ורחמן, ידיד נפש ורחמן, משוכבך אל רצונך, משוכבך יננאי נאי נאי אל רצונך. Page 9. May the heavens rejoice and the earth be glad. It's just the last paragraph there. Yismechu hashamayim, hashamayim, yismechu hashamayim, hashamayim, yismechu hashamayim, v'tagel haaretz. Yismechu hashamayim, hashamayim, yismechu hashamayim, hashamayim, yismechu hashamayim, v'tagel haaretz. Yeramayam, Yeramayam, Yeramayam umlo, Yeramayam, Yeramayam, Yeramayam umlo, Yeramayam, Yeramayam, Yeramayam umlo, Yeramayam, Yeramayam, Yeramayam umlo. Yismechu hashamayim, hashamayim, yismechu hashamayim, hashamayim, yismechu hashamayim, v'tagel So we do these Friday nights about once a month, and I think last time we did it, we were talking about how we use the Psalms. There are a lot of places where there's a collection of Psalms. I think it's embarrassing to say how long it took me to realize that these Psalms are actually a sequence of Psalms. It's not exactly that the mystics who put this together went and said, "Oh, why don't we use this psalm and then that one and that one?" No, they grabbed the psalms from Psalm 96 through Psalm 99, right? And then they went to Psalm 29. It's a chunk of psalms. There's also the Hallel is also the same thing. It's a chunk of contiguous psalms. And there are different ways of reading psalms, of using psalms in prayer. One of them is that what we just did. You just choose a verse or a few verses and you sing them, right? And you get into those words of the psalm. And one of them is to just read through the psalm as an experience, because psalms are incredibly rich. Each psalm is like an emotional journey. Like it starts one place, ends somewhere else, and you never know what you're going to get out of it. So I'm going to invite you to spend a little bit of time. You get to choose now which one you want to do. Do you want to just sing a verse over and over, or do you want to read the psalms? I am going to sing on page 12 at the top there, Zamru Adonai Bekino. You can just pick the beginning of the previous psalm and just read some of the psalms if you want and hum along, or you can sing it with me. Up to you. Zamru Adonai Bekino, Bekino. Zamru Adonai Bekino, Bekino ve'kol zimra. בכינו בכל זמרה שמו לאדוני בכינו בכינו בכל זמרה שמו לאדוני בכינו בכינו וכל 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 זמרה שמו לאדוני בכינו בכינו בכל זמרה. Page 13, the bottom. Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavo le'ar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavo le'ar kodsho. Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavo el ha'kodsho romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavo el ha'kodsho Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavo el ha'kodsho romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavo el ha'kodsho. Page 14. Psalm 29. So this is a tune that we've been doing lately by my friend Rabbi David Seidenberg. He wrote it this past summer. I hope very soon everybody will know this tune because I think it's what we call a banger. It's a good tune. Then you echo. So the A section again. B section. אדוני בני אלים, עברו לאדוני כבוד ועוז, עברו לאדוני כבוד שמו, השתחררו לאדוני בהדרת קודש, בהדרת קודש. כל אדוני על המים, אדון אל הכבוד ירים אדוני, על מים רבים, על מים רבים. כל אדוני בכוח, כל אדוני בהדר, כל אדוני שובר ארזים וישבר אדוני את ארזי הלבנון, את ארזי הלבנון וירקידם כמו עגל, לבנון וסיריון כמו בן ראמים, כמו בן ראמים. At the top of page 15, כל אדוני חוצב לפותח, כל אדוני יכיל מדבר, יכיל אדוני נדבר קדש, כל אדוני יחולל איילות, יחולל איילות ויחסו יערות ובהיכלו, כולו אומר כבוד, כולו אומר כבוד. אדוני למעבוד ישב, הישב אדוני מלך לעולם, אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום, את עמו בשלום. יאללה לילה יאללה יאללה לילה יאללה יאללה לילה יאללה יאללה לילה יאללה יאללה. All right. Bring this to Lechadudi. So Lechadudi is one of those great tunes, great texts that works to almost any tune. Not quite as well as Adon Olam, but there is a tradition of having lots and lots and lots and lots of tunes to Lechadudi. And there's another tradition of when it's a holiday, putting Lechadudi or Adon Olam to a tune that has to do with a holiday. So you know this one, this is this is like probably one of the most iconic Ashkenazi Seder melodies. In fact, it's such an iconic melody. It's not necessarily the greatest melody, but it made its way into the tradition of the cantorial tradition that, like all sorts of things on the festival of Pesach get sung to this tune, like for instance Mika Mocha. So it's אחד דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת מקבלה. You know this tune, like you've heard it in a Seder at some point. It's Adir Hu, right? It's one of those acrostics at the end of the so we're gonna do in a good old tradition of the Reform movement, we're gonna do verses 1, 2, 5, and 9, right? שמו וזכור בדיבור אחד, ישמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם תפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקורם ברכה מראש מקדם וסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. Top the next page. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, אורי אורי שדברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. body or in spirit. We'll turn to face the opening as Shabbat comes in. Boi ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. Have a seat. Did Shabbat come in? Does it feel like Shabbat came in? It feels like Shabbat came in. So it's magic. It's literally magic, actually. This is what magic is. This guitar sounds better up here. Doesn't it? No. So let's sing a song for Shabbat on page 18. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. להגיד בבוקר חסדך ובונתך בלילות, עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בחינו. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. להגיד, where are we? כי שימחתני אדוני בפועלך, במעשה ידיך רנן. מה גדלו מעשיך אדוני, מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. And at the end, צדיק אתה מה יפרח, כארז בלבנון יזכה שתולים בבית אדוני, בחצרות אלוהינו יפריחו עוד ינון בסלע, דשנים ורננים יהיו להגיד, כי ישר אדוני צורי צורי ולא עבדת עבור. We have received Shabbat. We can go on to our regular evening service, which begins on page 24. The Baruch. We have, see, the heat goes on and the strings go on too. There we go, there's the culprit. So this isn't in the book, but the words are so simple. You probably, if you've been with me here before, you know it for Kabbalat Shabbat. It's a little bit of a call and response, or it can be sung as a call and response. It's very easy to harmonize on. Barechu, Barechu, dear one, Shekhinah, holy name is together. When I call on the light of my soul, I come home. Barechu, Barechu, dear one, Shekhinah, holy name. When I call on the light of my soul, I come home. Please rise in body or in spirit. A call and response of the Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach leolam va'ed. Please have a seat. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim b'chokhmah potach sharim. Page 27 at the top. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and seasons glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise are you, Adonai our God, from whom the evenings flows. ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד, ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב ערבים. Page 28. Everlasting love you offered your people Israel. Avat olam bet Israel amcha avta Torah umitzvot chukim umishpatim otanu limadeta al ken Adonai Eloheinu ושוכבנו וקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נהגה יומם ולילה יומם ולילה ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל. Please join me in the Shema, pages 30-31. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Page 154. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם אלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם. אדוני אלוהיכם אמן. Page 33. Let's go with the second option as we are heading into our seders, heading into the experience of redemption. Like this is the spot in our daily service, right, which is equivalent to the seder, because we're going into Michamocha, going into the crossing of the sea on the next page. In a world torn by violence and pain, in a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. Page 34, 36 is the next page? 36, huh, I was copying it wrong. See, I have a different book. I have the hardcover, because the not harder covers won't stay open, so I can't play guitar and use the green book, so I have to do something else. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef ele, nora tehilot osef ele, malchutecha ra'u vanecha בוקע ים, לפני משה ומרים, זה ליענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך, אדוני ימלוך, לעולם ועד. ונאמר, כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. So page 38. And this is the night before Pesach, is the Leil Shimurim, right? The night of watching. Perhaps it's this tonight, perhaps it's tomorrow night. Spread over us your sukkah of peace. The third line. Ufros aleinu ויפרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך. In the last three lines, actually, like three indented lines. ושמוצתנו בואנו לחיים ולשלום מעתה ועד עולם. ברוך אתה אדוני, הפורס סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים. Once more rise in body or in spirit on the next page. Vishamro. Vishamro bnei Israel et ha-Shabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. We continue on page 130 with the Amidah, right? So we're used to following the directions for a Saturday morning. We're going to follow directions for Friday night. It's not a festival yet. So it's just a plain old Friday night. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid teilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'koneh Hakol, Ve'zocher Chasdei Avot ve'imahot, Umevi Geula livnei vneihem, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה כל אתה רב להושיע. This will be last time we say this. Mashiva ruach umorid agashem, for the year anyway. Mechalkel chayim bechesed, מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתם תורתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומידע מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. Continue privately to page 152, following the directions for a Friday night service, choosing whether you're doing the Hebrew, the translation, or one of the comments, responses to the prayer. Page 148, Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. Shalom Rav על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום, כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם, תשים לעולם. Have a seat. So I mentioned before, this Shabbat right before Pesach, which is usually not this right before Pesach. It's usually, a few days. The Shabbat before Pesach is known as Shabbat HaGadol, the Great Shabbat. And it is actually tradition. So the sermon is not a standard part of a Jewish service. It's not traditionally Jewish for a rabbi to give a sermon. That's something that we've borrowed from our neighbors. Judaism, by the way, has always done that. Has always been in conversation with the other cultures around it. But Shabbat HaGadol was one of the two times that it's traditional for the rabbi to give a sermon. The other one being Shabbat Shuvah, between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. So Shabbat Shuvah is, of course, about Teshuvah. It's a spiritual one. The Shabbat HaGadol is traditionally not a spiritual, or necessarily spiritual. It's usually a halachic, because it's the time that the rabbi talks about the laws of Passover, and to help you just remember how to do it, how to make your house kosher, and what you should eat, what you don't eat. And what's the big subject of that? It's chametz, right? Or as I grew up in Israel, calling it chametz. Chametz was not a big deal on my kibbutz. My kibbutz had a big deal service. We had, we think we're really excited about our service with 70 people in it. My kibbutz had 650 people, and that was our seder. We had a seder with 650 people. It was in the hall where we watched shows if there were concerts. We watched movies there. The stadium seating was somehow we set tables down them, and the pageantry was from the stage, right? And as a kid, I sang in the choir. My dad played in the band. He played electric bass. He's actually a fiddle player, but most people in the kibbutz thought that what he played when he went to play in the kibbutz chamber orchestra was electric bass, because that's what they saw him playing on Passover. I believe it was a big deal. But chametz wasn't a big deal. Chametz was to the extent that it wasn't a big deal. So that we would have matzah around. You'd get them in these big, paper bag things, big blocks of matzah. But there was one year that a fellow, he was actually my cello teacher, was in charge of procurement for the dining halls. And he was so concerned that we would run out of bread during Passover, because all the bakeries go on vacation during Passover in Israel, that he stocked up. And if you walked into that area, there was so much bread stocked that it was hard to find the matzah. That's what I grew up with. But it was a big deal in other ways. For instance, we cleaned. As kids, we were set to clean our children's houses, all the little corners, get all the dust bunnies out, clean the shelves down. It was a spring cleaning, right? And I still, there's some Jews do Passover cleaning as a type of spring cleaning, and some Jews were like, heck with the drapes. I'm just doing my kitchen, because if you are into the space age foil coverings of everything, and you have to get every little bit of things, big project. And does it even have any what are we even doing, right? The mitzvah is that you should not. There should be no leavening. Lo yera'eh se'or b'kol gvulecha. There should be no leavening seen in anywhere. Well, what's the significance of se'or? So se'or, the leavening they're talking about, it's not yeast. I don't remember the first time I realized that I actually didn't need to get rid of my yeast. Yeast in itself is actually not kosher Passover. It's not se'or. The se'or is the leavening. It's actually leavening of wheat, right? And if you think about that, it's probably it's like about sourdough, right? Who here grew a sourdough during the pandemic? No, you've seen sourdough. So it bubbles. It's a living thing. And there's a theory I heard that actually the whole origin of this practice of having the holiday without the sourdough is that in ancient Israelite and similar, like in ancient Israel, in that area, their bread was made by having a communal trough in the middle of the village that had a bubbling sourdough in it. But like, it's not good to just leave that forever. You got to clean it out, right? So once a year, you'd clean it out. You'd spend a week eating unleavened bread, and then you'd see if the miracle would happen, if bubbling would happen again if you added water to. The rabbis, though, of the Talmud had a different idea of what it is. What is the so? There was a rabbi, Alexandri, who had a prayer, a general prayer, where he would say, Ribono Shel Olam, Master of the Universe, you know that I want to do your will. But what interferes the se'or sheba'isa, the leavening in the dough. What was he referring to? He was referring to the evil urge. What is the evil urge? It's often described as the sexual urge, right? As the evil urge, and they say like you can't actually live without it. I've been doing a lot of studying lately of mindfulness that sort of is in conversation between the Jewish tradition and the Buddhist tradition, right? The grasping, desire, wanting things, right? It's not a healthy way to be, right? And yet it's something that is in our souls. So what is it that we're doing when we're cleaning out when we're cleaning out all the leavening from our houses? What is it that is something that bubbles up in us that we maybe want to clean out and clear out, right? What would that be? Like, if you sort of like think about that emotionally, what? Well, there's a preparation. So there is something in a practice of preparation, but this is a particular kind of preparation that's a clearing out. And what? Acquisitiveness, grasping and wanting, the process of leavening you could liken to what you want your bank account and your 401k to be doing, right? And to maybe not be obsessed with that. But it's still, it's a good thing if our 401k is doing that, right? But there are other things that happen within us that maybe we don't want to have doing that. The one that comes up most often is resentment, right? Like, ever had experience where you find yourself resenting something or someone, and it just sort of bubbles up, and you don't notice it until you just realize it's there, and it's actually quite a project to clear that out. And what happens when you, and it's something that you feel like you can't imagine living without. I don't know, how many of you have actually spent time in a fully kosher for Passover kitchen? Right? And it's an interesting experience, right? Because you're like, right, we don't have the food processor. We don't have this, we don't have that, can't use I'm going to use that spatula as a tupi, I can't kosher that, so I'm making do with my Passover things. But there's something, it's like going camping, right? There's something about living with less and living with the special things for a week that was like, maybe I can live with that. And maybe when I bring back, when I clean for Passover, and then suddenly the counter is so clear because there's no toaster there, right? And then when it's time to bring the stuff back in, it's always like, my kitchen's all, but there's still, I've learned to live with less, right? And it actually does, I think it accomplishes something. There's another essential practice that has to do with the wheat that doesn't end at Passover, because what starts at Passover is the Omer, right? Like, how many people saw the email I sent this morning that it talked about the counting of the Omer? So it says, you shall count 7 weeks from the day following the Shabbat, the day of Pesach, right? You shall count 7 whole weeks. So it's 49 days plus 1 is 50. By the way, that 50 is where the Christians get the word Pentecost from. That's their name for Shavuos. And what do we Jews do when we're told, you shall count 50 days? Do we just count them on the calendar? And then no. We count 50 days. We count day 1. Today is day 1 of the Omer. Today is day 2 of the Omer. Today is day 8 of the Omer, which is 1 week and 1 day of the Omer, right? So there's one way of doing that. Just you count, because that's what you were told to do, and because it's a mitzvah, you say a blessing before, right? But like with the clearing out, there can be a spiritual practice around that, right? And the spiritual practice, one of the spiritual practices that's developed, like what you do, you find 7 somethings to count, right? And there is a Kabbalistic practice, a mystical practice of looking at the 7 of the 10 divine aspects of the Sefirot. And each week is dedicated to one of those. So the first week is the week of Chesed, of outpourings of love. And the second week is the week of Gevura, is discipline, which is a contracting thing, right? So what we're going to do, I'm just letting you know, we're going to, over the course, starting next Shabbos, when is going to be in the week of Chesed, is after Kiddush, I'm going to give a teaching about Chesed, the next week about Gevura. And the practice internally is to ask yourself questions. Just like when I invite you to ask, like, what am I resenting this year that maybe I need to clean out, right? And that when I go and eat my matzah, I can think, right, this is the resentment that I'm working on letting go of this week, right? That kind of thing, when we look at the first week, which is the week of Chesed, which is the week of love and outpouring of love and creativity, we investigate in ourselves, how am I doing on that front? So that's why it's a mystical practice, because it's a practice of internal self-transformation. It's a mindfulness practice, you could say. Yes, exactly. So we'll be doing that over the course of the next 7 weeks. And so I want to invite you within this, Passover Seder is so loaded with symbolisms, of various symbolism. One of them to look at it is that the redemption, the going into freedom of Passover is not complete. It's a process. It opens, and it continues over those 7 weeks. Because what happens at the end of those 7 weeks? Like what happened to the Israelites. They left Egypt, right? They crossed the sea. They went into the wilderness. They ended up where? Sinai. And 7 weeks later, they received the Torah, right? So that's the process of this mindfulness practice of self growth, is about preparing us to receive Torah. I haven't quite figured out how we're going to receive Torah here this year, perhaps with some cheesecake. Well, stay tuned for that. What? We could do cheesecake. Blintzes. All right. So I'd like to take a moment to say some prayers for people in our community who are in need of healing. It's on page 175, I think, in our prayer books. My list here is a couple weeks late, a couple weeks behind, so I don't think I'm missing anybody. I think I might say a name of somebody who is doing better now, which is just fine. So right there are 2 paragraphs. We're going to sing the first paragraph, then I'll read out the list of names. We'll add whatever names. People at home, please put in names of anyone who needs blessing in the chat, in the live chat, and Mike will read it out and pass it on to us here. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. people we're thinking of sending healing thoughts to today. Joyce Fox, Wendy Kleinfaller, Roy Lederman, Rosalea Batrivka, Rose Edelman, Judy Freed, Arvine Peckman, Janet Press, Jordan Montero, Jackson Schwartz, Ethel Backman, Judith Lauro, Jason Moda, Lisa Bowman, David Gay, Lisa Diaz, Elsie Diaz, Mary McKenzie, Bill McKenzie, Sora Batlea, Chavadina Batsora, Ted Amgut, Jean Matulski, Shanville Batlabel, Vakela, Aaron Curry, Chris Lombardi, Ken Feinberg, Carolyn Curry, Steve Fay, Dieter Reese, Levana Yael, Batavram Avinu, Sarai Meno, Kathy Hatch, Sue Delaney, Esther Gladys Naftali, John Raymond and family, Matt Siegel, Gabrielle Maya, Elliot Becker, Sholomeir ben Beryl Vester, Beryl Eliezer, Hirsch ben Yael Sarah, Samantha Modest, Sima Bela bat Esther, Elishira Yosefa bat Kotel Avigail bat Ari, Razel Liba bat Rachel, Roz Helfen, Yisrael Yaakov ben Shmuel Meira, Chick Helfen, Andrea Ullman, Ken Perry, Shelley Sherman Taylor, Herbert Hill, Stacy Taylor, Gail Schottner, Bill Walker, Carolyn and Phil Sauter, Susan and Paul Steinberg, Lois and Frank Barrow, Mike Smith. Other names. מקור הברכה לאבותינו. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. And with that, we will move towards concluding our service. With Aleinu, please rise in body or in spirit, page 187 at the top. Aleinu לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד ארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינת עוזו בגובהי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. Page 189 at the bottom. May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding. Loved each of us for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hand but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with the joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו We remain standing as we Proceed to the Mourner's Kaddish on page 193. Yard sites that I'm aware of. Of course, not a yard site, but we are out of Shiva and into Shloshim from the passing of Deborah Hearn, Dina Bat Chayasar Reuven. And other yard sites observed this week. Harlan Terry, Geraldine Kaplan, Gartenfeld Backrack, Paul Mintz, Samuel Bondell, Joseph Rubin, Enid Antine, Captain Bertha Bernstein, Nathan Ruboy, Amelia Lustig, Menachem Cooperstein, Frida Golosov, Rose Eisenstein, Samuel Foreman. Are there other names? We take those names and all those who don't have someone to say yard site for them, and we recite the Mourner's Kaddish on page 193. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba, be'alma divra chirute ve'yamnich malchute, b'chayechon u'vyomechon u'v'chayei dechol bet Yisrael, b'agala u'vizman kari ve'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevarach le'alam u'lalmei almai. Yitbarach ve'yishtabach ve'yitba'ar ve'yitromam ve'yitnaseh ve'yithadar ve'yit'aleh ve'yithalal shmei dekudesha brichu le'ela min kol birchata ve'shirata tushbechata ve'nechemata da'amiran be'alma ve'imru amen. Yehi shlama Rabba min shemaya ve'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'yishmu amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav u'yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael kol yishmu amen. We have somebody to make announcements. I can make announcements. It's Pesach tomorrow night. You have a seat. So it's Pesach being tomorrow night. There is some setup happening in our social hall tomorrow morning and Sunday mornings. No, it's just tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning, Tuesday.
And then Tuesday late in the afternoon. Okay. News to me. But because we need to set up the chairs, the tables, and we need to also set up the tablecloths and the food and all of that. So if you have not signed up for our communal Seder on Wednesday night and would like to join, I'm sure we can pull up a chair. So let us know. We should discuss about whether we're having class on Monday night, because I gather the whole class is here. We'll powwow and we'll decide if we're having class Monday night or what we're doing about that, because I understand there's some challenge. There won't be lunch and learn on Monday. There's just a little bit much going on right now. There will, however, be religious school on Thursday. And next Shabbat, we will have services in the morning. Next Saturday is Yom Liyabasha, is the day of the crossing of the sea. So we get to read the crossing of the sea again. There won't be religious school following Sunday, just for those keeping track. And the office will be closed on Patriots Day. Anything else that should be announced? The annual meeting will be the 27th, so that's not just for the board, that's for all members to come and vote in the new board and get kind of a status report on how we're doing as a community. And of course, I didn't mention, I'm teaching a class after services next Saturday. Let's close with Shalom Aleichem on page 20. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi-Melech, Malchei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem Leshalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi-Melech, Malchei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Marchuni Leshalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi-Melech, Malchei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem Leshalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi-Melech, Malchei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shabbat Shalom. Goodbye to people on YouTube, and we will go downstairs and have some Kiddush.